Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to Season 2 of the F123 Lancia Career Mode. Yes, we're back this weekend for pre-season testing here from the Bahrain International Circuit to look through all of the driver transfer news as we head into the new season. Of course, always an exciting time in the world of Formula 1 and we've been trying to incorporate more and more mods into this series. Of course, we ran a driver poll vote on the channel for who you guys wanted to see as my Season 2 teammate, and I can confirm that Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian, the Honey Badger, he's got many a nickname behind him, but he will be joining us down at Lancia ready for this next season. Of course, on a one-year deal with the option to extend for another season after that. Hopefully myself and the Australian can try to bring this team towards the front of the Formula 1 world. But let's take a look then at all of our other teams, and of course we have to start this out with Red Bull. Reigning world champion Max Verstappen, well, he's going to have a former teammate alongside him ready for this new season. Yes, Carlos Sainz has left Ferrari and has joined the Milton Keynes-based squad. Of course, these two teammates back at Toro Rosso almost a decade ago now. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what Sainz can do against the Dutchman. Of course, Max Verstappen now coming off 3 back-to-back world championships, won the final 5 races in a row last season to take home the driver's crown there. And of course we'll be looking to try and make it 4 world titles in a row as we head into Season 2. Carlos Sainz though, yeah, had an up and down season with Ferrari, never was going to be a match to Charles Leclerc, and ultimately felt that he wanted to get back inside the Red Bull family for this new season. Of course, you know, he was a good competitor for Max Verstappen back when they were Toro Rosso teammates all those years ago, but of course it's safe to say Max Verstappen has very much matured and developed as a Formula 1 driver in that time there. But yeah, Ferrari of course left looking for a driver then ready for next season, and Perez of course, yeah, despite finishing P2 at the end of last season thereafter, just claiming that second place in the championship over Charles Leclerc, his contract with the Red Bull wasn't renewed, so he has had to go looking for a new drive as well. All of course will be revealed very, very quickly. As always, timestamps as well are linked down in the comments below. But yeah, let's head over then to Ferrari. Of course, in real life, having made one of the biggest signings ever in Formula 1 history, they've done exactly the same thing inside this career mode there. Yes, Lewis Hamilton has signed with Ferrari alongside Charles Leclerc, so this will give us a fantastic look as to what the 44 is going to look like on the side of those Ferrari cars. And I think you probably have to say that Ferrari have got the strongest lineup as we head into this season. Of course, the 7-time Formula 1 world champion Lewis Hamilton alongside Charles Leclerc, of course, hungry after the disappointment at the end of last season. Ferrari, their winter testing pace looking very, very competitive against the Red Bull team at the moment. They're fastest actually in winter testing in the end on both the longer and the shorter runs. But of course, everyone is playing a little bit of cat and mouse in winter testing there. Hamilton was still struggling to get to grips, as you can see, with his new Ferrari car. But I'm sure as we move into the season, we'll get more and more settled and embedded with that team, if you will. Of course, unlike real life, you know, he doesn't have a year to kind of prepare and get used to it. This is just a straight swap with Sainz heading over to Red Bull. Of course, Ferrari probably still the team with the biggest budget in the world of Formula 1, so they could pretty much pay for anyone they wanted when you factor in the budget cap as well. So yeah, well over 100 pole positions, over 100 Grand Prix victories as well. Will this be the year Ferrari's drought finally comes to an end? All will be revealed as the season unravels. But yeah, I think this team is going to be one to watch, of course. Will these two get along? Or will there start to be some spats within the Ferrari team as well? We'll find out over the course of this season, but Hamilton wants that 8th world title, and clearly believes Ferrari is the place he can do it there. Of course, with Hamilton leaving the team though, that then left Mercedes scrabbling for a new driver as well. Carlos Sainz of Red Bull did really create an F1 silly season, and that allowed Oscar Piastri, of all people, to join George Russell down at the Mercedes team there. Seems like a sensible move by Oscar. You know, McLaren, they made big strides last season, and Oscar Piastri was very well settled within that McLaren team. But, you know, the opportunity to move to a factory team, I think, is too much for any driver to ignore, and I think Oscar kind of felt with Lando Norris, of course, signing a long-term deal with the McLaren team, that he felt he might always end up being the number 2 within that organisation. Mercedes, yeah, maybe left scrambling a little bit. Obviously, with the loss of Hamilton, will George Russell be able to fit that number 1 role, or will we see Oscar Piastri pretty much come in and assume the number 1 driver's seat within that team? Of course, all will be revealed there, but I believe, of course, as well, he will be the first Australian to race a Mercedes AMG Formula 1 car. And, well, crazy to think that 3 seasons ago, you know, Mercedes pretty much always had a very stable lineup in the world of Formula 1. Only had ever had 4 drivers within the organisation since their return back in 2010. Now, within 3 seasons, they've had 4 drivers back in the car. Once again, of course, Bottas being dropped by the team at the end of 2021. Hamilton, of course, leaving the team at the end of last season. But Oscar Piastri, George Russell, one of the youngest lineups on the grid, but absolutely one of the ones that I believe has the most future potential, and how these two will get along together, only time will tell. But just like Ferrari, I think this one could create some drama over the course of the year. Of course, this vacuum that seems to have been created within the top teams, though, obviously with Lando Norris signed up to a long-term deal with the McLaren team, they were left obviously looking for a second driver as well there, and that is where Valtteri Bottas comes in, of course. Yes, some of these moves emulating what we might see in real life. This one, though, emulating a previous game success that we've seen within this career mode before. Many of you that have been, you know, around the channel for quite a few years now will remember, I believe it was on F1 2021, Valtteri Bottas joined McLaren and pretty much created a dynasty within that team there. I believe he won 2, it might have even been 3 world championships on the bank. So, to be honest, I just kind of fancied seeing what Bottas is going to be able to do within this McLaren organisation. Of course, a very fast driver on a Saturday, has often struggled with Sunday race pace, and of course, you know, many have said, including myself, that he is not aggressive enough wheel-to-wheel against other drivers there. But Bottas, I'm sure, this season would love to try and prove himself within, you know, a team that might necessarily be right at the top, but McLaren absolutely have the potential to be in that shout in the very near future there. And yeah, both drivers looking very close on pace in pre-season winter testing there. Just 15 thousandths of a second between them on their fastest lap times by the end of our 3-day testing period here in the Sakir circuit. But yeah, Bottas back to McLaren. Like I said, this team has been a dynasty in the world of our My Team, you know, universe in years gone by. So how will Bottas get on this season? It's all changed though down at Aston Martin Honda with the loss of Lawrence Stroll as a huge financial backer. Lance Stroll has not kept his drive within the team. Honda looking for a stable pair of hands for their new project. It was only a matter of time before Yuki Tsunoda made the switch, and he has been joined by Kevin Magnussen. Yes, a rather rogue choice by the Aston Martin team, but clearly Kevin not happy with Nico Hülkenberg coming into his team and pretty much cementing himself as the #1 driver last season. So Kevin Magnussen, rumour on the street is he's a very cheap date for the Aston Martin team, and an experienced pair of hands as well. Of course, these two arguably two of Formula 1's most hot-headed drivers, so I'm sure Aston Martin will be hoping that they don't come to blows over the course of the season as well there. But yeah, that Aston Martin Honda car I still think is one of the best ones inside this game. Of course, as always, all the mods, there will be a link down in the description below if you want to download any of the mods used for this season. But yeah, Magnussen though, the experienced Dane, Yuki Tsunoda now, obviously his 5th season in Formula 1. He's pretty well embedded within the sport now, and, you know, Honda continue to like what they're seeing and continue to believe in him as well. So I'm sure he will be sticking around for a longer-term future. Of course, the bigger question always is just how long will Honda stick around with a Formula 1 project? They love to, you know, obviously get back in the sport, do quite well, and then drop back out at quite inopportune moments. So yeah, all eyes, I'm sure, will once again be on the Aston Martin Honda team. Winter testing pace not looking fantastic, but apparently, yeah, they might be keeping a few of their cards hidden up their sleeve as we settle in to the new season there. That brings us on, though, to a perennial and seemingly only midfield team, Alpine. Yeah, not really anything exciting to report on by them. It doesn't look like they've made a particular leap forward. They're, I believe, the only team not to have changed their lineup as well, ready for this season. So, Alpine, yeah, clearly not a lot to document within the team there. Esteban Ocon, Pierre Gasly seemingly got on well enough last season. Obviously, the Alpine team basically want to try and build a French powerhouse, and yeah, consistently mired to the midfield last season. I don't think their real plan was to end up locked into battle with Lancia over the course of last season's campaign, but that was what ended up happening there, and they did clutch up in the final race of the season in Abu Dhabi, of course, able to beat out Formula 1's newest team at the end of the day there. But Alpine, could they make a push forward in the future? Early signs really aren't telling. It looks like, again, they're going to pretty much be where they were over the course of last season, but yeah, maybe we'll see some big strides forward. I'm sure Gasly and Ocon desperately want to try and bring that team towards the front of the Formula 1 field. They are, however, still maintaining their lineup that obviously one of the only lineups in Formula 1 where both drivers have won a Grand Prix in their Formula 1 career. Of course, only one apiece for Gasly and Ocon, but it is still a Formula 1 Grand Prix victory nonetheless. Next up, though, is of course the Lancia team, and as we mentioned at the start, we have signed Daniel Ricciardo, the Australian, to drive alongside ourselves there. You know, we wanted a driver with an experienced set of hands. You know, he's also very, very well rated inside the game, and you know, combining that with the idea that he's quite cheap as well to buy an F123, it made sense for the Lancia organisation, of course. You know, we've still got strong ties with Ferrari for this season. You know, Ferrari power once again in the rear of the car. But of course, you know, could we down the line kind of stretch our legs, head in our own direction? You know, maybe if we become a bit of a headache to the Ferrari team in the near future as well. You know, Lancia could be trying to set themselves up. And of course, you know, at the end of the day, we certainly aren't, you know, a Ferrari B team in the way an AlphaTauri is to Red Bull. We are here to win, we are here to compete, and we are certainly hoping we can do so. However, might not be the story at the start of the season. Unfortunately, a lot of our upgrades haven't arrived on the car in time, ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix, so we will be looking for a B-spec car that should be arriving a couple of rounds into the season then. So myself and Ricciardo, we might not be in the points in the opening couple of races. We might be set to struggle ever so slightly at the start of the campaign, but I'm sure we will kick on strong, and I'm sure we will be able to fight further on down the season, of course. It serves as a good opportunity for Ricciardo, of course, you know, has some Italian heritage as well, let's not forget, to race with an Italian team, and obviously gives him a chance to kind of embed himself within the world of Formula 1 once again, in a team that hopefully can build a car that both suits him and myself for years to come. Maybe a long-term sign, as we said, a 1+1 potential deal in place, so we'll wait and see what you guys want to see from Ricciardo in the future then. But one of the biggest shocks as we head into the new year was the fact that Audi would be halting their progress with the Alfa Romeo team. There were lots of speculation about whether Stake would be taking over from that organisation as well, but instead, it is Porsche that have decided to come in. Unfortunately, it isn't quite gonna be, you know, the full spec program that we were expecting, at least in the early seasons, but Porsche will kind of serve as a title sponsor in a similar way to what Alfa Romeo have done in years gone by, and they have opted for a completely fresh lineup within the team as well there. Yes, Théo Pourchaire, their junior driver, Sauber's junior, and you know, obviously reigning Formula 2 champion, will make the switch to the organisation, but joining him is Sergio Perez. Yes, like we said, in a very, very experienced pair of hands, of course, saw success with Sauber back at the start of his Formula 1 career, taking, of course, that podium and almost win back at the Malaysian Grand Prix all those years ago, yes. But yeah, Perez and Porsche, obviously it's Perez, Porsche and Porsche, it's all the P's down at the Sauber Hinwil-based squad. And I'm sure we'll see them try and push themselves further up the order. Of course, Porsche, it's not quite known just yet how long they're going to be sticking around with the team, whether they're going to be there for the long-term future, or it's just going to be a couple of year deal, and whether they'll then try and develop their own team. But yeah, shock news from Audi, of course, no longer interested in developing the Sauber program. Clearly felt that their money was better spent elsewhere. So, I mean, we get Porsche back on the Formula 1 grid for the first time in about 50 years, which is certainly exciting to see nonetheless. But how will Perez compare against Porsche? I'm sure the young Frenchman will be looking to try and prove himself as well. They're finally getting a Formula 1 gig. Haas, of course, we mentioned, still very, very happy with Nico Hülkenberg, but it was clearly felt within the organisation that they wanted an American driver alongside him. So Logan Sargent has moved from Williams and will be joining the Jägermeister car ready for this season. However, rumour on the street is that Haas could be getting bought out by Andretti in the very near future as well there. Haas, of course, finishing the last couple of seasons right towards the rear of the field. Clearly, Andretti obviously not being allowed into the Formula 1 fray anytime soon, so the only real option for them is give Gene Haas an offer he cannot refuse. So will we see Haas get a name change before the end of this season? Will it happen over the winter break? Only time will tell, but very, very excited to see what that team will do, of course. Maybe still not fighting where they would want to, but yeah, I think, an American driver inside an American team, it's going to be good for home support as well. And of course, maybe during the US Grand Prix, quite a few hats can be sold as well, because I'm sure that will help Gene Haas out, kind of continuing to pump money into that project as well. All of our backmarket teams, though, seemingly getting a huge rebrand, and AlphaTauri is no different there. Yes, the new team called Racing Bulls will still, due to legal reasons, have to race under the AlphaTauri name this season, but that is pretty much in name only, of course. We know this team basically just suits as a very, very expensive advertisement board for the Red Bull team, so you can see Visa and Cash App on the sides of the cars as well. They're in the Racing Bulls name on the rear wing as well there. They have got an entire new lineup as well. Zhou Guanyu, of course, after being dropped by the Sauber team, has found refuge in AlphaTauri, and it is an all-Asian lineup for the new squad. Of course, losing Yuki Tsunoda at the end of last season to Aston Martin, they have opted to sign with Ayumu Iwasa. Yes, another Japanese driver then within the team, so it is going to be Japan versus China over the course of this season. But of course, very, very clear that it is a big, big marketing move behind Red Bull, of course, trying to target that Asian market. How well the AlphaTauri car will develop over the course of the season really is anybody's guess at the end of the day. But yeah, Formula 1, obviously the massive increase in value in recent years obviously is meant for Red Bull. They can market this however they want and will turn a huge, huge profit in the process. Who would have thought just a few years ago that we would have been Formula 1 teams, eyeing up profit within the organisations as well there. But Zhou versus Iwasa, I hope that obviously Zhou Guanyu is going to kind of help Ayumu Iwasa learn the ropes inside Formula 1 as well. But of course, yeah, it's going to be very, very exciting to see. Just completely dependent on what the car's pace is like. And one of the last shock moves then, Williams have signed a long-term partnership with Lamborghini this season. Yes, Lamborghini, the kind of rumour mill was churning throughout last season. They were eyeing up what Lancia have been able to do with their own team, and of course, with Ferrari as well, with Alfa Romeo obviously having a Formula 1 team you know, with Sauber for so many years. Lamborghini fancied a slice of that pie, and of course with Porsche now as a sponsor over at Sauber, the Audi group really is trying to get its claws dug in to the Formula 1 world there. You can still see the hints of blue, but obviously Williams, we've known about their financial struggles in recent years. The rumour mill is churning as well, suggesting that maybe Lamborghini might be trying to push for Formula 1 to head to V10s with synthetic fuels in future seasons as well there. But that is certainly a story for another day, but I would certainly be one that would quite happily watch the return of V10s to Formula 1 as well there. Williams, of course, though, still adamant in their project of trying to develop the team around Alexander Albon, and they poached Liam Lawson out of the Red Bull Academy as well there. So two drivers, of course, two former Red Bull drivers within the Williams program now. It's going to be very exciting to see how they get on. Of course, Lawson made his debut in last season, obviously during the Italian GP, and of course had that monumental qualifying effort in Singapore as well there. But joining Lamborghini for a full-time season for 2024. Yeah, a lot of rebrands towards the rear of the field. Clearly, a lot of teams now appreciating the value that a Formula 1 car can bring to their marketing as well. Their Porsche, Lamborghini, Lancia. It is a very exciting time to be a Formula 1 fan. However, a slightly shortened 16-race calendar ready for this season. We'll see, of course, the teams start the campaign out in Bahrain there. Saudi Arabia once again will host round 2 ahead of Albert Park and Imola before we head to Monaco and Spain for a few European blasts there. Canada, we fly across the pond once again before we return for the Austrian, British, Belgium and Italian Grand Prix there, with a flyaway season consisting of Singapore, Japan, Qatar, USA and Brazil there. Yes, 3 sprint weekends to finish off the campaign is certainly going to make the maths quite difficult to decipher by the end of the season there. This is solely just to make sure that we get 2 more seasons in at least before the end of our F123 My Team Career mode as well. But I thought, you know, it was an exciting calendar that hopefully will deliver us a lot of good racing as well. I tried to pick tracks that were both fun and enjoyable, and of course deliver a lot of good battles as well there. But yeah, let me know which teams you were excited about ready for the new season. Of course, let me know who you are going to be rooting for. A quick mention as well: channel members and Patreon supporters will get access to this race 1 day early. Yes, if you aren't a member, you will get to see the Bahrain Grand Prix from Friday, but channel members will get to watch the Grand Prix 1 day early on a Thursday afternoon. So of course, if you want to support me from as little as £1 a month, it would be greatly appreciated. But thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll return very soon ready for the Bahrain Grand Prix. A massive thank you to all of my YouTube members and my Patreon supporters for their continued donations to help my work. These things go much further than I think a lot of you ever realise, and allow me to continue making content full-time here on YouTube. So if you want to support me from as little as £1 a month and be featured on all of these end clips, either click the join button next to the subscribe or head over to my Patreon. There's a link down in the description.